Welcome to the Future of Field Service podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Nicastro. Today's session is a session from the Future of Field Service Live Tour in Stockholm. In this session, I am joined by Berit Hallgren, who is Program Director at Tetra Pak. And Berit is sharing some insights on not only Tetra Pak's current service transformation project, but tips and advice and words of wisdom for driving transformation success. Berit has been with Tetra Pak for more than 30 years. She's incredibly knowledgeable and very smart. Also, you can tell in the way she responds that she is courageous and no nonsense. And I just absolutely loved speaking with her. She talks about many different aspects of transformation, including how to get buy-in, appropriate governance for the project, how to make sure key stakeholders stay aligned, how to manage change, and much, much more. I hope you enjoy the session. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to welcome next Berit Hallgren from Tetra Pak. Berit, come on up. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is take another look at service transformation. And so have another perspective on what it takes to achieve success. So Berit, you have now the advantage of having heard some of the other speakers.
Yes.
So you can build off of some of the points that have been made. So that'll be great.
Absolutely.
So go ahead and tell folks a bit about yourself, your role, and what service means to Tetra Pak.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So hi everyone, I'm Berit Hallgren, and I play many roles in life, as all of you do, right? And I think I've got the toughest part after lunch. Because that's the part when people tend to fall asleep, right?
No sleeping allowed. I will be monitoring if you're. I'm going to be calling you out, so just stay awake.
Yeah. No, so yes, I'm first of all, I'm married, happily married. I have 3 grown-up kids, so that's one of the roles in life I play. And then I'm also part of Tetra Pak. So I'm employed by Tetra Pak since actually 30 years back.
Wow.
So it's a long time. Always been based in Sweden and basically always been working internationally. Tetra Pak is an international company, as you know. Doesn't mean that you work internationally, but I've always done. And mainly within the service business. So I have approximately 10 years in administration, so I'm not an engineer. Maybe that's something good for Tetra Pak as well, that we don't only have engineers. And then approximately 10 years in project management and 5 years in line management. So I'm part of our service business, and right now I'm driving a major transformation within services. So we're transforming our way of working, basically going digital. So it's a bit of digital transformation. That digital transformation has actually started some backwards 2014-15 with small steps, thinking about what Dan said earlier this morning. And now we started the real transformation in 2020, basically, when we set our new strategy. So I'm leading that initiative, which actually consists of 7 different projects, where field service management is one of them.
And you just took a new role not long ago, right? So leading the team that is overseeing the operational excellence of the transformation. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we are in a matrix organization when it comes to driving this transformation. So we have clear business owners for the areas that we want to transform. So I'm responsible for delivering the transformation business case, basically, because of course, if the company invests, they want some payback and some return as well. And also responsible for securing that we deliver the solutions in the end. But I'm working closely with my peers who are the business owners, so they decide the what in the end, and then we, together we deliver the transformation. So I'm responsible for the business case, and they are responsible for the what, and together we make sure the transformation happens.
Okay. So can you describe the current transformation project at a high level? So what are the primary objectives, and where are you at in the process? So you said a new strategy was set in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So new strategy was set 2020 in the whole of the company. And that's where when we set a new strategy, we normally work with partners. So together with the partners, they find the opportunity in services. We can really do things differently moving forward. And we have been, as many of you guys as well, service was a cost center many years back. And we started our, service becoming a business around 2000. So we've been on that road for 20 years approximately. So through the strategy work, the high level opportunity was defined, and at the same time, there was a VP in services assigned to actually own this transformation, and I was assigned to drive the transformation. So the first thing we did an analysis. So I actually brought together a team with finance, HR, market experience, service experience, and project management experience I had myself. So we did an analysis, a little bit of more detailed analysis to understand what are really the areas that we need to transform, and how do we make that happen. Mm-hmm. So basically, the objective we came out through that analysis. We decided that we can and we will enable more growth of the service business. We need to lower down the cost to serve our customers, and then we need to simplify and improve both the customer experience but also the employee experience. Mm-hmm. And I think the employee experience is a really important part here. Mm-hmm. The others as well, of course, because our field service guys and women, not so many, but a few, they are actually the voice at our customer sites. So they are the ambassadors. So it's really important to have them on the journey. So with these 4 objectives, we also identified, we have 4 levers basically. So we are working in the remote services area and connecting our equipment. So that's one lever. The second lever is field service management. So how can we automate that as much as possible? And then we have the competence development of our customers and our people. And finally, the future workforce. How does it look like? Mm-hmm. And the employee experiences as well.
So based on everything we've talked about already today, the fact that you're owning this transformation, I mean, that's a pretty tall task to sign up for.
Yes, it is. It is.
And what makes you excited about the role you can play in Tetra Pak's transformation journey?
Yeah. What makes me excited is that, we have a clear vision where we want to go. But we need to do that in a stepwise journey. Mm-hmm. And I think, thinking about the customer, always putting the customer first and putting the employees first as well, that's really what excites me. And what we can bring to our customers and to our employees and also to the company with this whole transformation and the new opportunities it actually brings for the future. Mm-hmm. So I was reflecting quite a lot this morning when Dan was talking about the digital transformation versus the innovation. Mm-hmm. And I think, as many others, we also went wrong a little bit in the 10 years back. So it was all about HoloLenses and all this cool stuff, the cool technology. But what will you do with the cool technology if the back end isn't working, and all the other things are not in place. And that's exactly what happened with us as well. So now is really, I mean, the transformation we're doing now is really to put the back end in place and getting the foundation in place for the future, and then we can build on that.
Yeah.
And that's really what excites me, to be part of this journey, because we've been on it for many years already and trying, bits and pieces here and there, and now it really happens.
Yeah.
So that really excites me.
Did anyone else notice how firmly Berit said we can and we will increase service revenue, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I love that, very firm commitment, and that comes from having conviction in that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So the question I'm wondering is, we talked a lot this morning about one of the barriers to transformation being, I know I'm going off script, see Berit, I do it.
No, that's fine.
But one of the barriers being resistance to change, okay?
Yeah.
Now you yourself have been a part of Tetra Pak for 30 years. So what do you think the key is for someone with that amount of tenure, who was literally with the business in a different phase of its existence? How do you stay open to what the opportunity is today and into the future?
Yeah. Really good question, Sarah. And I've been reflecting because, sometimes when I tell people I've been with the company for 25 years, for 30 years, and say, okay, why am I still here? And I think it's really about, for me, I'm changing job every third year approximately. And Tetra Pak is a big employer in Lund, Sweden. So I have the possibility to really, going from one area to another, which also develops people in the end. So I'm curious as a person, and I need change. I mean, that's my mindset. That's my, that's what I eat and breathe, basically. I need regular change because I get super bored otherwise. And I think that is what's, so the biggest challenge, I think, for us is really, or what you need is really, you need the right mindset. So you need to find the right team from the beginning who can really, help starting off the transformation. Because there will always be the detractors, and there will always be the front runners. And you need the front runners in the beginning, but then you need to attack the middle, all the middle mass that Don and many others talked about as well earlier today. Because if the middle mass isn't with you, it doesn't happen. So mindset is one part, and I think capability is the other part. And I have some capabilities, but I don't have them all right. So how do we also bring the outside in perspective? And that was important when we did the analysis too, that the benchmark piece is really important and the outside in perspective. So how do we make sure that we bring the right capabilities that we need, who can help us on the transformation? And I think the third one is time, because it takes time to drive the transformation. So at the same time, you need to show what are the benefits and the values with what you're doing, but you also need to deliver some early results. So the company really believes in, okay, this can happen and this will happen. Because if you don't have some proof in the pudding, why should we do a huge investment as Tetra Pak is doing right now in this big transformation?
Yeah. No, I think that's really good, and I always think it's a testament of a really good employer when you have people who have been able to evolve many roles in the same company. Because a lot of times people like you who need change and they want to challenge themselves, they end up doing that elsewhere. So it's 3 years with one company, okay. So when you can do that all within one organization, I mean, that typically is an indication of a good business to be a part of, right? So we talked this morning a lot about the need to, eliminate silos, create better alignment towards the objective, to create more collaboration in how we work. So in a lot of ways, the team that you've built and the function you're serving now is to really make sure that that alignment happens with this service transformation journey. So what are some of the ways you're doing that?
Yeah. I should also say that actually we have or are right now ongoing a big, huge reorganization in the company. So my manager, who is the VP owning the program, she realized that, and I realized as well that, we are too few people. We need better business owners and all of that. So, and then came the company reorganization, so that helped. Otherwise, we would have had to do something else. But with that reorganization, she had the opportunity to really put together a great team who can really lead this whole transformation. So that was part of her, putting the organization in place and selling the idea, both to top management so that she got the resources she needed, and also to the people she, employed in the end. So how do we then work together? Well, I would say we are doing mainly 3 different things. One thing is that we are working on 2 levels in the organization when it comes to the stakeholder management, the communication, and getting people on board. So my manager, she works on her level and upwards in the organization. And then me and the business owners, we work on our level and downwards in the organization. So that's how we kind of manage the stakeholder management.
But you and her need to stay aligned
all the time.
Lockstep on what is the message up,
Yes.
what is the message down,
exactly.
right?
And we do, we do. The second thing we do, we decided quite early on that we want to work in an agile way. And the company is doing that already in different areas, bits and pieces here and there. Succeeding better in some areas than in others. But we decided quite early on, we want to do it in an agile way. Because if we do it in the traditional way, we will develop. And then, X years later, we will deploy. And we believe we are deploying the right thing. No, we are not. So we decided early on agile. And that we are using the Scrum methodology. And then we have implemented that in the projects step by step. So, not taking everything in a big chunk, but bits and pieces, being rigid on the principles of agile, and making sure at the same time that we learn by doing, basically.
So rigid on the principles, flexible on the approach.
Exactly. And then when we do that, we also, explain to the people who work in the project that, what is an MVP? What does it look like? So what is the as is? Where do we want to be? And, this is what we are going with right now. And making sure that people really understand the concept of agile, understand the concept of MVP, so we create the right expectations with the end users when we are coming. And I think the beauty of the agile is that we involve the end users from the beginning. So since we are rigid on the principles, the end users are part of the development. Some of the development projects itself or themselves, but also through the sprint reviews. So they have an early say early on, and they will bring perspectives that we haven't thought about. But in my market, it works like this. Okay, maybe this is something we need to investigate to understand if there is something we need to adjust on the journey. Which means when we come to the market, they're already prepared to some extent. And then we make sure to handhold them, and we don't let them go until the project is finished, basically. And then we are evolving over time. So working on 2 levels, stakeholder management, working agile, and then at the same time there are more transformations ongoing in the company, so we stay close to one other big initiative, which is sales and marketing transformation. So we work very closely to make sure that we have the same message to the market in the end, because the market is the sales companies, and they are working cross there. So they don't care about, who is capital equipment, who is services, and who is what really. So those are really the 3 top things we are doing to make sure that we will succeed in the end.
What are the primary ways that you as a team interact with the various stakeholders in the business? So what are the forms of communication? What is the frequency? For the transformation team, the excellence team, to communicate with everyone?
From the project levels, we do it's the sprint reviews. That's the primary communication channel, and that's happening every 3rd, 4th week. So it depends on project. So that's how we stay close with them. Then from the program perspective, we are doing demos on a regular basis, retrospectives and planning, and that we do on quarterly basis. So that's when we invite the more senior stakeholders to take part of the planning. And then we have, you need some kind of governance, even if it's agile. So, you need to understand, are things going in the right direction? So we are doing monthly steering team meetings, basically, on the program level, if there is a need. If there is no need, then we skip it, basically. And then my manager, she reports in her management team on a monthly basis how things are going. I'm doing the same in our management team on a monthly basis. And then we do what else is needed, when we feel that, with clear communication plans in all the projects, of course, as well. So change and communications work closely together. So we have a change manager for the program. And I think that is something, it's fluffy for many. What does it really mean? But if you don't take that seriously, the whole change part, there is a huge risk for failure. So I said from the beginning, we need a change manager in the program. Otherwise, we will fail because there's so many things to keep together. So that we do as well.
I think that's really smart. I think that if anyone follows my content, I've written and have said many times that change management is a topic that I have issue with, because it is always the number one reason the projects fail, but it continually is deprioritize, de-emphasize, budget cut, etc., right? So it's widely recognized as important, yet often not given the time, energy, and investment that it deserves. So I think that's really smart. Raphael was saying this morning some of the real, emotional reactions to this type of thing. And at the end of the day, I think, it's, if not the most important, one of the most important aspects of getting out of that middle, that hard middle to, something toward your vision. I think that is something that keeps people stuck here, because if it's not done well, a lot of the other things you've done right don't matter nearly as much. So I think that's really good. You also mentioned the tie-in with sales and marketing, which I find really interesting and think is very important. And we probably don't have time to really dive into this, but I have done some content on, how are we selling modern service, right? And are we doing it justice? And are we speaking the language of the customer? And are we taking sort of our internal journey and articulating it externally in a way that resonates and things like that. So I think it's very interesting. You mentioned that you're responsible for the ultimate return on investment of the transformation. And so one of the questions that has come up at a lot of the events prior to this one is advice for business case for transformation. And then, so that's one part of my question is, do you have any advice for that? The second part is, you mentioned, this middle phase, right? So you sort of Tetra Pak started this journey a while, kind of figured out what it was going to look like. And then, 2020, it clarified, now we're here before we get to here. And so when you're in that middle phase and, things, it requires patience, there's some costs, there's some hiccups. So what are the ways you are finding to communicate successes, even amid some of the non-successes, or some of the slowness toward the ultimate success?
Good question. So if I start with the business case one, we decided early on that we need to do the business case on program level, because all these 4 levers, they are intertwined in the end, right? So it will be extremely difficult to say what benefits come exactly from where, from there, or here, or there. It doesn't really work. So we were clear on that to the company already from the beginning, that don't come and ask us to follow up on the details, because that will just be non-value-added work because someone wants to see it. So that we were clear on from the beginning. Then, of course, we do a business case for each of the projects, because you need to justify the transformation. But all those business cases needs to add up to the full one in the end, and then we follow up on the full one. And when we do the business case, there are certain hard numbers like productivity gains that we will get, but we are talking about them as more as avoided cost. Because the business will grow, which means service is a people business, so the number of people needs to grow as well, right? But not maybe in the same ratio as it has been doing before. So we talk about it as cost avoidance, and we also talk about it as how can we utilize our technicians better. So there is a benefit there as well. But we are also talking about lost sales. So if we don't do this transformation, how much of the growth opportunity will not happen because we are not modern any longer? And that's what we're not counting, in the business case as such, but we openly talk about it so it's clear for the company, this will not happen if we don't do this. So that's some advice from the business case perspective. And then your second question was...
while you're in process.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Things are,
and how do we communicate? Yeah, exactly. So we started early on, we did some trials, mini projects here and there, and then it was decided, and here is the end goal. So right now, if I take a practical example, we were supposed to go live with FSM solution this Monday, but we didn't. And even if we were in a troublesome, state a couple of weeks ago, we were supposed to do a user acceptance test with our end users. We decided to go to Panama to start the user acceptance test and do it, as much as we could. And in there was some really good wow moments for the people. So, the commitment is there from the market, and that is what we are communicating now. So we are communicating transparently, why are we not going live? What is the problem? How are we addressing that? How are we replanning? But even we decided to do this, get these wow moments, and people are really committed. But now when we go live, we can't fail.
Right.
So, it has to happen the second time, otherwise we lose the trust. And I think this is the beauty of, the agile way of working. Then we are doing some other things when it comes to automation of our processes. So we have some good success stories there with our customers as well that we are communicating. So being transparent, I think everyone here does pulsing, and you all know what, red, green, and yellow means. So we are open with that. The program is currently yellow and has been for half a year. But we are open about that, This is our challenges, and this is what it is. And if we need senior management support, then this is what we say. We need your support to remove these and these roadblocks. So transparency was mentioned earlier today as well, and I think that's key.
Yeah.
You know, don't hide, don't try to imagine something that is not going to happen. But there are some successes along practical things that you can really communicate about as well.
Yeah.
And show to the company.
I think transparency is an underutilized art.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So does anyone have questions for Berit before I drone on? You're my favorite delegate, by the way. Not that I have favorites, but if I did, you would be it.
It's really inspiring, and the story relates a lot with my journey also, and what we have done at Electrolux. But I have a question. You mentioned about like being very strict on change management and having a change manager, and then you also said about agile principles, but being flexible on the approach. So, like having a program and such a big transformation program where you have almost 200 or 250 or more than this people, or even in a project there are 50 plus people or something, then how do you make everyone work on agile principles? Because not everyone is super knowledgeable or super trained in that way of working. So do you have some agile coach, or do you keep on doing like every weekly and some trainings or coaching and analysis? So how do you manage that?
That's a really good question.
Good question.
I was thinking you're almost teaching Agile as you're doing the project, right?
Yeah, yes, we are. Yes, we are. We have an Agile coach, an external one, because we don't have that, we didn't have that capability in the company. So but this guy has been working with Tetra Pak for many years in other Agile transformations. So he knows the company, he knows, many people in there, so that helps a lot. So, and he's really, guiding us step by step. So we early on created learning journeys, so people could take them. And last year, second part of last year, we talked a lot about Agile in the program. And now 3 of the projects are really up running. So, he's coaching them a little bit, but we are managing quite good by ourselves and in the program as well. Now we have some new projects coming up that will start, because everything is not starting at the same time. So then he will be there to support those projects. And I think a learning for us is that this was with IFS specifically, that we are changing now. We were working Agile, the business team, the Tetra Pak IT team, but not IFS. Yes. And that has been, clashes, of course, which doesn't help anyone. So now with phase 2 with IFS, we will go fully Agile together. And that will help. While in the other projects, we have been doing it, Agile all the way through. So that's how we, external coaching, again, to help us on the journey, because otherwise, we wouldn't succeed. Change management. We actually hired an HR person in Tetra Pak who has a lot of change management experience, who has been driving change management projects or change management within projects as well. So she has the capability, she has the methods, she knows what to do, and then she helps the projects to apply the methods. They are super annoyed in the project from time to time, because, why do we need to do this and why do we need to do that? But, suddenly they realize and they understand. And comms and change management are working hand in hand, because that's also a critical success factor. So you need to have dedicated comms people with you on the journey who can help you.
And those points of annoyance are where, if you were relying on those leaders alone to handle the change management, it would just get pushed aside.
It wouldn't happen, yeah. And many times, I'm not driving any of the projects. There are people doing that, right? But I'm very much engaged in all the projects. So sometimes I need to step in and be the facilitator, because the change management person, have her perspective. The project team has their perspective, and they talk by each other. So then I'm stepping in to say, guys, this is what you want to achieve. So, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So that's, how I'm also actively working with the projects.
There's a podcast I did a while back with a gentleman named Dan McClure, okay? And it was talking about incremental improvement versus innovation, okay? Yes. But one of the things that came up in our conversation is the increased need for, there's a term he used for it, that choreographers is what he referred to it as. You know, people that are more orchestrating what needs to happen. And this is something that last week in Frankfurt, almost everyone that spoke, it came up that there was either an individual or a function within the business that now serves the role of not execution, but orchestration, right? And so I think when we think about the silos that exist and how do we break out of that, these type of roles like you have now that are able to be a bit more objective, bring different viewpoints and opinions and strategies together and sort out, okay, I understand what everyone needs, how everyone feels, how are we going to work as a team toward what is the decided outcome, right? I think it's super, super important. So really interesting. Okay. Berit, last question for you. What is, based on your experience, either in this project or throughout your career, what's the best piece of advice you could offer our audience today?
Yeah. If I would say, you know, a number of things, I would say 5 things to always think about and bring with you. Be clear on why you are doing this. So what are the problems you want to solve? Because if that why is not clear, how can you communicate to your audiences? And then the what, you know, what are the areas you want to transform in the end? It needs to also be very clear for people so they understand we're not going everywhere, we're going in these specific areas. The outside-in perspective, I think, is super important as well, that I would also really advise, because if I think about Tetra Pak, we haven't maybe in the past been so much outside-in perspective, because we are, you know, it's been a successful company, and you tend to focus more on yourself than on you know, the customers and the outside in the end. So bringing that and also showing to the organization, this is where we want to go, this is where we are, that becomes really, really powerful. And then I mean, what's in it for me? You need to be able to explain that for the customer, for the employees, and for the company as well, because it's not the same message to all of these people. And then, you know, finally, I would say have courage, because it takes, that's probably one of my strongest skills. I'm persistent. So, okay, didn't go this way, let's try the other way. Because you need that when you drive a big transformation. You have to be persistent, really, because it will take time, there will be challenges, but it will happen. If you have decided it will happen, it will happen. But you need to be persistent.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. I hope you enjoyed the conversation I had with Berit in Stockholm. I know I did. You can find more by visiting us at futureoffieldservice.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn as well as Twitter at The Future of FS. The Future of Field Service podcast is published in partnership with IFS. You can learn more at ifs.com. As always, thank you for listening.